afternoon to the people of the United States of America. Today we have lost the hero of the people. Today, August 6, 2002, former mayor of Little Rock, Arkansas, Woodrow Wilson Mann, has passed away due to a stroke. He was a man that even though he did not get praise for his actions at the time, we shall thank him nonetheless now for his courageous acts towards racial equity and equality. That is why today, on the day of his death, we will pay tribute to this man and all that he's done for his country. Woodrow Wilson Mann, not to be confused with Woodrow Wilson, the president. Woodrow Wilson Mann was the 53rd mayor of Little Rock, Arkansas, from January 1956 to November 1957, only one short term. During that time, 9 African-American students known as the Little Rock Nine went to Little Rock Central High School. The students at the high school at the time were all white, and the African-American students were enrolled to start the desegregation of schools and as an experiment of inclusion of black students into all-white high schools and schools in general. In the late 1950s, many white parents, students, faculty, and citizens, just in general, were not in support of the Little Rock Nine, as these students were, the 9 African-American students were being called. Segregation of public schools was proved to be unconstitutional by the Supreme Court because the students at the all African-American schools were treated and taught unequally. The judgment by the Supreme Court was overturned. It overturned the previous notion of separate but equal. But mostly public schools were found as unequal based on funding, standard of education, basically found off of who was living in that district of taxes, and that's what really made education in black communities so bad. Therefore, the Supreme Court found that the only way to make the educational standards of black and white schools equal, and the education of black and white children equal, would be to join them together. But despite that, General Orville Faubus, white governor Orville Faubus, sent the Arkansas National Guard to prevent and deny any African-American student access to the Central High School. For 17 days, the 9 students were not allowed into their new school by the Arkansas National Guard. In response, President Dwight D. Eisenhower sent approximately 1,000 U.S. Army paratroopers to disperse the mobs and ordered them to protect the Little Rock. But this executive order was only issued by President Eisenhower after he was sent a telegram by the mayor of Little Rock at the time, Woodrow Wilson Mann, detailing the situation transpiring in Little Rock, Arkansas, and the help that he required. The Little Rock Nine are known as 9 African-American teenagers who attended an all-white school. They would get assaulted, harassed every day, but the story of how the issue was resolved is often not told. On September 23, 1957, Woodrow Wilson Mann sent a telegram to President Dwight D. Eisenhower calling for his assistance. In his letter to President Eisenhower, which is now made public, Mann detailed that the mobs of people were growing by the day and spreading. The police could no longer handle the mobs, so they urgently needed federal troops. On September 24th, President Eisenhower sent 1,000 paratroopers, as I said previously, in order to quell the mob's fury. Soon after that, many people stopped rioting, but the Little Rock Nine still needed protection because there were still people who wanted to physically harm and abuse them. Although there were white citizens who did not participate in the aggression and would sit back, watch, and criticize their fellow white man who would act so brazenly awful, at the time, President Eisenhower was aware of the issue because it was highly publicized. He also was not sure whether to uphold the Constitution and intervene or to let the tension simmer and address the situation afterwards, after it had subsided, because he did not want to risk his presidential campaign, of course, by entering into politically charged situation. At the time, President Eisenhower was staying in Newport, Rhode Island, and arranged a meeting with Governor Faubus, where General Faubus agreed to withdraw the Arkansas National Guard, but did not establish peace. It was not until Woodrow Wilson Mann sent the telegram, to President Eisenhower that he finally decided to send the paratroopers to Little Rock, Arkansas. There had already been meetings, but it wasn't until that final push by an elected official that President Eisenhower saw it fit and necessary to assist in the problem, in the riots, and the mobs. Sending the telegram to President Eisenhower was already an act of political courage itself on Woodrow Wilson Mann's behalf, but he made more changes during this short term, his 1-year term. He removed signs from many buildings across Little Rock that read whites only, but one specific sign read that African Americans were not allowed to drink from the water fountain in the Little Rock City Hall itself. They had to drink from small cups at the Little Rock City Hall. But it was not until the last few months of his term that he actually did get involved in the Little Rock crisis, as it was called at the time, and currently. Woodrow Wilson Mann risked his career to protect the rights of 9 African American students that just wanted to better themselves and get a proper education. After his single term ended, Mann was ostracized in the Little Rock community. His insurance business that he started after ending his term as mayor suffered horribly because of his previous term as mayor of Little Rock during the Little Rock crisis and the desegregation of public schools. He received numerous hate mail, death threats, and burning crosses on his lawn. Burning crosses are often signs of racism used by the Ku Klux Klan and other racist figures. After numerous receivables of those on his lawn and around his house and just in general, he no longer felt welcomed or safe in Little Rock, Arkansas. He subsequently moved to Dallas, Texas in 1959, and then Houston, where he lived out the rest of his life. Until today, August 6, 2002, at the age of 85, he died of a stroke. But not before, in 1997, on the 40th anniversary, after 40 years of the integration of the Little Rock Central High School, Mann was finally honored for his courageous actions. Political courage is having the resolve and moral fortitude to do what is right for your country, state, or town, in Woodrow Wilson Mann's case. Even though a vast majority of your constituents disagree with your position and may never give you the credit that you deserve for your actions. Woodrow Wilson Mann never knew for sure if he would ever get the recognition he deserved in his lifetime, and he barely did. He only got it at the age of 82. But he knew that what was transpiring in Little Rock was unconstitutional and unjust for the young people of his town who were simply trying to receive a proper education in hopes of succeeding in their adult lives. During the 1997 40th anniversary of the integration of Little Rock High School, the Little Rock City Board of Directors approved Resolution 10,084, which was to honor Woodrow Wilson Mann and have his portrait temporarily, though it was moved, it was only temporarily, moved from the City Hall boardroom into the rotunda of Little Rock City Hall. Woodrow Wilson Mann had finally been given the credit that he deserved after 40 long years. And that is why on this day, and every day moving forward, we must remember the sacrifice of Woodrow Wilson Mann and how he never knew whether or not he would be accepted again by the people of Little Rock. This teaches us a great lesson. Do what is right, even if it may not lead to rewards. gain satisfaction in the fact that you made a difference in someone's life. That is the message that Woodrow Wilson Mann may have wanted us to live with in our hearts. Oh, I see we're getting a breaking news story from our reporter in the field, Christoph Bandelay. Let's see what he has to say. Christoph. Yes, thank you, Christoph. We're here at Mr. Hughes's G period class. Good afternoon, everybody. I have a question. Any questions from the crowd? Thank you.